talk about that divide. Let's talk about systemic inequality, systemic racism, and cultural misunderstandings or implicit bias in our schools with our students, our brown and black students that they are facing and their parents are facing. I want to talk to Linda about that. Can you answer that? I mean, how can we bridge that divide? Because that's a deep issue that has been going on for decades. And it seems like with the current climate that we're all facing, COVID, the death of George Floyd, it seems like tensions are very, very high right now.
Alicia, thank you so much for asking that. That is such a relevant question right now with everything that's going on, not only in our district, but across our nation. I think that there's a couple of things here that we need to look at, and that's communication. If we do not have clear, consistent communication and resources for our parents so that they can help their students, and Jay put it very well when she said it's not just about the devices, but we need to be able to look at what they need. So if we have a parent that tries to contact the teacher and is trying to get some individual help for their child, but if the teacher doesn't have a good understanding of maybe some of the other things going on in the home, we're going to have a gap there, and it's going to be a cultural gap. It's going to be not just a digital divide, but it's going to be a lack of the parent feeling understood. And we also have to look at, our staff, our teachers, and as Jay had said, the mental health professionals. Right now, I receive so many referrals, and this is because our social workers, our psychologists, our counselors, as Alicia had said, they're trying their best, but there are so many pressures, and these kids are very aware. They're they're much more adept and skillful at knowing what's going on right now. So with the Black Lives Matter movement and with all of the other social inequities that have been brought to the forefront, they're very aware of this, and their parents want to know how they can best help them.
And I'm curious from an administrative standpoint, Dr. Luria, do you think it has to help, right? The more diversity that we see in key leadership positions, I would assume the better that district is at addressing some of these issues.
I agree with you 100%. I believe that students need to see people who look like them in leadership roles. And we as leaders need to understand that, this issue of inequities and racism is something that it's so present, and it's so difficult for us to really engage in true conversations that will lead to change. I spoke before about building the relationships with the students, but it goes so much, beyond that. It's in the differentiation of the lessons from a teacher standpoint. Is us as the leaders looking at the data as the systemic data and understanding how are we even analyzing that data. When we look at, for example, behaviors, and we see how much more negative consequences students who are Black or brown receive as compared to their peers. We look at it, we know it's there, but then what are we going to do about that data? And those are difficult conversations to have with a school, with another leader, amongst ourselves. But starting at the top, having that diversity, I believe it's important for students to see I can be there as well. I can get in the future to lead and be in leading positions to make a change. But it's difficult, and we need to just confront ourselves with our own biases sometimes.